You guys all having fun today?
Oh yeah.
Don't get too excited.
It's okay.
It's too early in the show to be this quiet.
I haven't had a chance to really get that sleep deprivation I'm doing. And the booze hasn't started.
It's true. Sure.
For those who are of legal drinking age in the States?
Yes.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way. Oh my god, look at that cat back.
There's a will.
Who the hell wants to hear me talk this much?
Who doesn't want to hear you talk?
You don't even know who I am.
She has an awesome comic, which did you bring a copy of?
Well, you actually have much of it on your thing there. It's a webcomic. Paper is so passe. Hi! Hi!
If it's hard to hand digital things out as a flyer at conventions.
Yeah, or even just to look at, considering like.
Also, we ran out of business cards.
Yeah, that's really. We've got them ordered for SpringCon, but we're in between. Honestly, if I don't have
We're in between printers right now.
I'm honestly, if I don't have a art alley table, I usually.
Okay. Yeah, I probably didn't bring my. I'll bring my cards.
I'm here more as like kudos con directors and lady artists or something.
Well, I worked overnight last night, so I'm wrong.
I only did my usual 2
I took 2 hours trying to get home.
Yeah, I took that a little early.
About 20 minutes of it was driving from the side street to the driveway.
Well, the thing is, I lived in Boston for 9 years, so I'm used to the snow, and everyone, all of the guests, the voice actors, like, yeah, snow! No, this shit sucks. Shoveling heavy wet snow is just how I mess my back up.
My landlord has a snowplow.
I've been dying to get out and do snowballs though, because this is ideal.
Yeah, that is true.
Like I gotta chuck this at somebody.
Packed full of rocks and happiness.
It'll be gone by next week.
Any of you cosplaying someone I don't like, be careful outdoors.
We need water, please. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unless you're just a thief stealing pictures.
The picture thief.
And that thing's empty too.
No, they just replaced it.
They did?
I was signaling back at her, and then she got some other guy, and they're doing their little ninja thing back.
Obviously, that very ninja if you saw them.
Well, they're not the best ninjas.
Maybe they wanted to be.
Ninja starter kit.
Yeah, so it's a distraction for something else.
1 minute.
Oh.
You volunteered for Anime Detour this weekend yet? Volunteer for 4 hours and you get into the volunteer suite where apparently they have, quote, real food.
I spent 2 hours hanging up flyers today. Not even kidding. 2 hours.
I didn't hang up any
Is that how
flyers.
they advertise it? Real food?
That's how one lady pitched it.
Hey, I got news for you. That's actually pretty exciting. I've been to some conventions where I was like guessing, yeah, come to Green Room, we got some food waiting. It's like bread and like a half empty jar of jelly. Like, that's your meal for the weekend? Oh, fuck you.
7 o'clock.
Oh,
7 o'clock, we start now.
yes.
Hello and welcome to this panel, which is the artistic side of making comics. Part 1, part 2 will be tomorrow, the business side of making comics. So if you have business questions, do it then.
Before we start, can I just ask, everyone has phones. Please mute them or turn them off, put them on vibrate. If your phone rings during panels, I will answer them. And that sounds really cool until your mom hears what I say you're doing.
Don't trust it.
Oh, I caused some problems for people.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
It's hilarious to me.
So let's go through our panelists here and introduce ourselves. Over on the far right corner, we have these two lovely ladies here that work on a webcomic together. Tell us a little bit about it.
Can you all hear me? Good. I am. I don't really need that. I'm plenty loud. I am Lee.
I'm Lisa. Hi, I write words. I don't actually know why I'm on this panel because I don't draw.
Beautiful ceremony.
Writing is a form of art.
Yes.
It is, but I don't draw.
And we together, by our forces combined, create the long form
It's a novel at this
Bronze
point.
Age epic webcomic Godseeker. So we have a long form. I keep wanting to say black and white, but as of last week, we're actually in color.
Yeah.
Well, you were more so of a grayscale style.
Yes, yeah, but now it's in color because I'm stupid.
Welcome to hell.
Actually, I would recommend it. Use the micro
chairs. Do you want?
I'm
do
at
you
the
want
air chair.
I'm cool. You really?
Maybe I can like balance pyramid stuff.
Okay. I can do that.
Here, Gerbil, though, you're quiet. Come on this side. We can
Yeah.
hand you a microphone because.
Yeah.
Let's not spill the water though. That's a nightmare.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea. Hi.
And
So, do I need any further to the right?
Oh, I start?
Introducing.
well, I was gonna do them last since you showed up late, but
Well, if
go
we're going
ahead.
this way.
Why are we arguing about this? Gerbil, introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Gerbil, aka other things. But most importantly for this panel, I wrote a webcomic for the past year and a half called 40 Such Tickles. It is very sketchy as to stave off perfectionism. And it's autobiographical, and everybody is drawn as animal blobs, because those are more fun to draw than actual effort.
I'm actually in it. I'm a chinchilla.
Oh, the softest animals.
And I'm a squirrel.
All right.
My name is Randall Milholland. I draw a comic called Something Positive. It's a bunch of dick jokes. I've been doing it since 2001. That's been my job since 2004. I don't know what else to say. I do also like occasional like mini series things. Like I did a series of Super Stupor. I have a bunch of those books actually, and I did a series of paintings called The Last Trick or Treaters, where the last two Halloweens I've done watercolors of children being murdered off on Halloween by monsters.
He's the popular one.
Yeah, that's not true.
Just consider anything that he says to be like in italics and bold.
No, as in do not do.
And you can check him out in the dealer's room and see what his wares are.
Buy everything.
And
I didn't take one.
all right, you spill the water. Take a drink. And I am Festworks, which some of you may know from previous years of doing such panels as this. And mainly what I focus on is I have a webcomics podcast I've been doing for over 5 years and looking to wind it down by the 6th anniversary. So I've been able to meet and greet tons of web cartoonists over the years, and I've amassed my own personal knowledge and the knowledge of others by sucking it out of them. So
Leave our heads alone.
I'm fine with it.
You don't want Gerbil's brain.
So we did have a couple of questions before the panel started. I actually got a couple of questions, but I'm not even sure what this panel is. If this had a particular drive for it, or if we're just gonna wing everything as far as
description.
the artistic.
Yeah, and we can ask.
I wrote that description like 8 months ago.
Oh, you wrote the description. You should know what we're doing.
I know, he's asking us.
You have no excuses, sir.
Does anyone here know what the panel's about? Or something they want the panel to be about?
Yeah, I was hoping to understand more of the artistic side of your guys' process when you approach the comic.
Process!
What you want.
Process! Let's ramble about
Well,
process.
she did ask earlier. She wanted to know about character design.
Oh my god, I have so much rambling I can do.
No, she was specifically asking about visual character design, but I'm not entirely sure if you can make if you want to make a comic character, I don't think you can just focus on the visual aspect alone.
But I think it's
It's a good starting point.
I have
Sometimes I get the
seriously a
hardest part.
40-page unpublished floppy about that subject that I've never bothered.
Right in the water.
Am I actually starting, or does someone else want to say
Go
something
right
about
ahead.
this
You
first?
said you have lots of notes on this.
You open your mouth.
I think Mr. Popular should maybe go first. But I'm sorry, I've been making fun of you all weekend.
Whatever. I'm making the money. All $4 of it.
I have 2 microphones.
They're very important.
They're so weird. Okay, so let me ramble a little bit about it, because my comic, I've been working on this stupid thing for... When did I graduate college? What year was that?
Which time? I mean,
Undergrad, thank you. 7 years, let's call it something like 7 years. I've been with this one comic, and we did actually do the thing that you're never supposed to do. We tore down our archive and started over.
we did.
Oh.
We're
I know.
70 pages in.
70
Tore it out.
pages in, and we nuked it. But that means I've redesigned the main cast of this comic several times. Once for a Tokyo Pop pitch, once for our first webcomic, once for our current webcomic, and then everyone got a bit of a tweak at the start of the third book, because we're organizing them in terms of books because it's this huge, massive, sprawling 500-page nonsense.
Don't do that for your first one, by the way.
Yeah, if I can give everyone one piece of webcomic advice, don't do a gigantic story for your first comic. Do something that can be broken into little things. Don't do something that'll be 500 pages, because then you're stuck with it. And you're stuck with your old pages in your archive forever.
Forever!
So awful.
So, character design.
But character design. So in this comic we have a cast of gods and humans, and the whole thing is set in the Paleolithic era. No, that's wrong. Sorry,
No.
that's science.
No,
Bronze.
no.
Bronze Age. No, it's not.
not
It's
quite
Stone
Bronze
Age. Sorry, you guys. I swear to God.
Well, it's end of the Stone Age, beginning of the Bronze Age.
I recognize you.
I'm going to jump in here and mention one thing that they really need. I'm not sure if you have, but you don't have it on recall, but it is a story Bible.
Which I do have. And in fact, bits of it are on my webpage because people ask about this. One thing that I did later than I should have, that I wish I'd done earlier, is I did a height line, which is every important character in the comic, which in our case is
A lot.
like 13 people over the course of 5 books. And you line them all up next to each other. Because the comic usually is going to look best and be the best to look at if you can tell the characters apart by their silhouette. And when you put them all next to each other like that, you can see if they're different enough and if they look good next to each other and if their styles are all matching up. Which I had some problem with because I designed some of the characters at different points in my artistic development, so like, oh, this guy looks really, really anime, and this person over here really doesn't. I need to fix that. So putting on, instead of approaching characters as one at a time design, actually approaching your main cast kind of all at once. And the other thing that I always try and keep in mind with character design is, what do I want the immediate impression of this character to be for the audience? One of our characters is a fertility goddess. She has to look like one. I mean,
Old school.
old school, yes, yeah.
Gerbil.
Yes.
Yes, many, many curves on her, not a straight line to be found. None of them down here. I'm running out of steam, somebody else talk.
I can. Speaking of straight lines, panels. I admit that most of my background and expertise stops as soon as you hit an iPad or any kind of like a tablet work. I do all my stuff hand-drawn. But if you are doing stuff hand-drawn, when everybody said, oh, I can't draw a straight line. No, straight lines are hard. They are rough at the best of points, especially if you want to make a comic that you will have to draw straight lines from panels over and over and over and over again.
We have rulers for it.
And they fail me. I don't know. It's kind of a
T-square. T-squares are great.
T-squares, see, we're getting all sorts of good information. Myself, this was a flat cardboard and an X-Acto knife, and I had one 6-panel square that I actually used a ruler for, thank you. And all you have to do is, it might take a couple of tries, but if you have a certain grid in mind that you go back to time and time again, this has saved me so many hours. Hours and hours. Because then you just drop it down on the page where you need it. It's like, I can draw now.
Okay.
And if you find shortcuts like that that work, there's no shame in that. There's
No.
not going to be
Shortcuts are
standing
your
over
friend.
like, no, 10 points from Gryffindor if you use shortcuts like that.
Most of this, after a while, you start finding, like, for character design, when I design, it's like, what can I draw the fastest? Like, what can I, because I had a 40-hour-a-week job, and I was doing 20 hours a week of volunteer work, so that didn't leave a lot of time, so what can I throw out as fast as I can, what's going to be easy for me, and you will learn the shortcuts quickly.
That's why you update a lot faster than I do.
I did not know about that when I started. Everyone had these elaborate hairdos and everything.
Oh, no.
And now that everyone's redesigned, it's like, nope, you're all getting new haircuts. Everybody's getting new haircuts. I am sick of drawing that.
Everyone's bald.
And getting on from that, in terms of easy to draw, I take a lot of lazy shortcuts in my comic. It's in yourheadnow.com. If you want to check it out, you will notice immediately. But if you do want something that looks more polished, I have a lot, like this was a problem that I had, where you get one of these nice fancy new sketchbooks and you look at it and it's like but it's so untarnished. How can I scribble all over it? And it's like, no, every artist has at least a million like just crappy drawings, and the key is you have to sit down and burn through them.
I tear my bad ones out. I tear mine out of them.
And the thing of it is, you could the key that I would recommend is get yourself just like a dumpy, really cheap sketchbook and try layouts, especially if you're going to add a lot of text in there. It is crucial because those things, like when you're doing it all fancy style by hand, it takes a lot more room than you'd expect. And there were so many times when I bumped into a panel line, I was like, oh, like 3 panels in, and I should have planned this out a bit better.
That's why I do not write my text. Like, I draw everything else, but man,
that's an even better short.
My handwriting is so crappy. I found a nice font no one was using. I'm like, okay, good. Now I'm gonna read it.
I think I was forced into good handwriting when I used to be a secretary for a trucking company, and they said, we need a girl to hand address envelopes for our Christmas cards for every single one of our customers, and you're the only female in the office, so here, have this gigantic stack of Christmas cards, hand letter invitations on everyone, and they should look pretty.
Because, handwriting is connected to the vulva.
Yes.
I actually pulled out my fallopian tube.
These ovaries, right tentacles, writing, stamping.
Went poorly, but on the plus side, my handwriting is now perfect. The problem is I can't spell.
It's true. It's true. Can't spell it. It's a problem. It is. Yes.
Happy holidays. If anybody's ever just hey, I have an 8x11 piece of printer paper. I'm gonna draw a character, and how many times?
Printer paper.
Whatever. People do it. I do it.
I draw my comic on multi-purpose paper.
Yeah,
cardstock now.
It's cheaper. But you start drawing a character, then you get to the shins, and you're out of paper, so you cut off the top part, and then you tape it to finish the legs. No, that's all about. That's what you want to do. Storyboards and extra planning to figure out where you want to place everything. Same goes for even if you're not going to hand letter your words. Sort of draw a circle somewhere where that pretty much is going to go, because otherwise I've seen some people that even professionally there's balloons over what is quite possibly fairly detailed art, and you don't get to see it, and it's just then it's just people are covered up. It's a work planning at all. They're just making a poster is what they were doing.
This is sort of related to character design. I wish I had drawn my characters more times before I started the comic that was going up online. Because you have to draw a character a certain number of times before they really wind up consistent. At least if you're not okay, fine, if you're Gene Ha, if you're Craig Russell, you can probably just draw that sucker and have it be consistent in every panel. But I don't see Craig Russell or Gene Ha here. So a lot of the time it's probably good, especially when you're starting the comic, to draw your characters a bunch of times before you start. I mean, that's
true.
That's my approach, at least.
At that point, you're working at the kinks, and you're finding out what you like, and also how fast can I get this done, what works.
And if you want to do a webcomic, presumably you're going to get some kind of update schedule at some point. So if you can get to where you can draw those characters fairly quickly, you'll be making your life easier later on down the road when there's hopefully people who are going to be making nasty comments on your website going, where's the update? Where is it?
Question.
Oh look, I guess in relation to the kind of drawing out your characters a lot before, at what's when you're planning a webcomic, at what point do you say, hey, we're ready to go live?
Can someone close that door, please?
Never. It's honestly kind of when you feel happy with it. That's the thing, when you actually go, this is what I want, or as close as I want. There's no specific set point, 10 drawings in, I'm ready. It's, for me, I spent the better part of a summer planning my comic. And reworking character designs completely over and over, just designing characters, making my Bible. And fun thing, when I got the comic started, a weekend, I dropped 8 members of the cast. They never appeared in the comics. I didn't like them. So that was a summer wasted. And I replaced it with all characters I designed on a Saturday. And I liked them better. And it's really just a matter of playing with it and go, yeah, this is something I can imagine drawing all the time and not hating it. Best thing I designed was a small pink shapeless cat, because I did not realize I'd be drawing that at every convention for 13 something years.
That cat is awesome.
Hey, and he draws fast. That's great.
It's a money maker for you.
Yeah, people walk up. Can I get the cat? Sure, there you go.
Speaking about figuring out how to draw a character fast.
Yeah. It was important.
For me, I knew, like you, when I started my comic, I had, what was it? It was ridiculous. I had a 40-hour-a-week job. I was going to graduate school, and I was planning a wedding.
Yep.
So I was dumb. So I decided I needed a 4-month buffer before the internet saw anything.
Yeah.
Actually, not a bad idea.
And that buffer lasted me through graduate school. I actually had buffer until my second botched surgery last year. That finally was the nail in the coffin for my dear beloved buffer. Because once you get the buffer gone, it's so hard to get back again.
I had it for the first year of my comic, and I missed it greatly.
Moment of silence for all those fallen buffers.
The only person I know who's ever had like a insane buffer is Howard Taylor, Schlock Mercenary. Has never lost his buffer. It's usually 2 to 3 months. And like Dave Willis recently got a buffer of like a month and a half.
He's so proud. He put it like a count.
Well, you know, he should be proud of it. That's awesome. He does like 3 comics.
I know, he does like 3 of them.
We had somebody on the Webcomic Beacon podcast years ago who does a comic called Out There, and it's, you know, a 4-panel black and white comic. He has a night job where he doesn't really he's like security, doesn't do anything except draw his comic all night. He was like 8 months in advance.
Yep.
And he updated daily.
I actually have a buffer again now, and it's because I now work the night shift in a homeless shelter.
Oh.
Which most of the time actually involves several hours of me sitting on my ass and waiting for disaster
Or playing dominoes.
Or playing dominoes with the guys there, but...
So, I'm not sure if we actually...
Wait, Gerbil's got something.
Oh, go ahead.
I got something just in terms of when am I ready. It does stand to be said that when you're showing your stuff to folks, don't just show it to folks that you know really well, because when it comes to, I try and make a point to show to somebody who will disagree with something that I'm doing on the page, because if you insulate yourself with just folks that are going to say, yeah, it looks good, or it's like, yeah, you're such an artist, parents are pretty good for this. So, or folks who just want to get out of the room and get past the roommate.
If you got a dick uncle, you know.
I was lucky I had a bunch of friends who are artists, and they were happy to tell me, yeah, that design doesn't work. That I can't tell that character from this one. It's just not good. And it's having people who want to be cruel but will be honest and understand what you're trying to do and will want to help you and give you honest input. And that's even for like when you're planning out storylines. Those people are really important. They can tell you, I think this might be a bad choice, or it doesn't really make.
And there will be stuff that just hits you out of nowhere. I should have done it blank. It was like right there. If you get feedback from lots of sources like that.
Yeah, having a community is a really, really nice asset if you can manage it. We're part of the Black Hat Collective. Mm-hmm. Pretty much everyone up here but him. Because he's not.
It's a local.
He's not. Yeah, we're
local cartoonists.
Yeah. And part of that is just so that when I can go, why does this page suck so bad? I can go and throw it at some other people, and they can, because of this. This is terrible. We need to fix that. And I go, thank God, now I can fix it.
There's a real merit to having thick skin, or at least not weakened skin. Nobody should be a delicate flower and making something for other people to look at.
On the internet.
No, anywhere. No, not
especially on the internet.
Especially on the internet, though. And
just shove you and run away.
We used to do reviews and impressions on the podcast until we just started getting like, we really didn't want to say like, it's original crap, shitty ass drawing. But we stopped doing it. But it's like, now it's like, if anybody asks me, I was like, do you want like a quick impression, or do you want me to really tell you the truth? And I go into critique mode, which usually negates all the positive stuff, and I get real nitpicky, but it's like, I warned them first. Yeah. But you also gotta you don't need to change everything for what everybody says, because everyone's gonna have their personal things. Well, I think the hair should be longer, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's not the type of feedback you want to look for. You want to look for like the technical feedback, or if it's about the story.
And you want feedback that's not someone trying to tell you, hey, turn your comic into this other comic that's already being done. I've heard people try to give that as like, this comic would be great if it was a comedy. I'm not trying to do a comedy here.
Tokyo Pop really tried to get us to repitch our comic.
Tokyo Pop is evil.
As a young adult comic.
Oh.
If you could just switch this character to being the main character and make her 15 instead of 25, and I'm like, that's okay. You can have that idea. You go make that comic.
And where's Tokyo Pop now?
Well, that's
They're
the beauty
dead
of
now.
webcomics. You can make whatever comic you want. Because
I mean, not everybody has to be Gene Ha, too. I mean, when it comes to, especially when you're just learning your style and testing stuff out, there's no shame in showing folks what you have and then just learning from there. Because you can always build on something.
We have another question.
My question might seem a little silly. How did you find like the balance between art quality versus updating, like on a regular basis?
I think it's be different for everybody. I feel.
Yeah, the difference between what do you weigh on more? Getting the update on time or making sure your art looks good? Is that pretty much?
Yeah.
How do you find that balance?
How do you find that balance?
I think we're going to have different answers up here.
Yeah.
I always have a really good answer. I personally think it's a good answer. This is part of when I do I have a webcomics panel, which is all about getting webcomics after this in another room. But one thing I say is, before you post page 1, start practicing your comic, as in, drawing for a buffer. That way, you start getting that buffer, but you're also practicing and how quickly and efficiently you can make your comic. It's like, oh, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to do it 4 times a week. And it's like, then you start practicing. It's like, okay, that's way too much. So you start realizing what your natural ability is going to be. And once you figure out what your method is, what your efficiency is, you shouldn't even have to worry about that. Now, if you're running out of time and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna throw something up, that's a little bit, it's a little bit more questionable. But when you're just starting out, I'd almost say like update schedule is a little bit more important.
It is definitely more important.
To get it in their mind first.
My first year of my comic, art was the least important thing because again, I had all this other stuff doing. So I knew I could draw. That's all I cared about. Whatever. And it was actually more stress relief than anything else. My big thing was I updated 5 days a week. Then I moved to 7 days a week. I was up for years. I moved back to 5.
Then it went to a lot.
Yes. Well, I mean, this year it's been 5 days a week. Period. Yeah. But the first year of my comic, there's a guy named James Grant. He draws a comic called Two Lumps, and he used to draw. When I started SP, he was doing a comic called Phlegm. And
they're charming titles.
Yes. Two Lumps is actually about cats. It's about 2 Prussian blue cats. Phlegm was a very angry, go fuck yourself comic. But he looked at my comic and said, okay, here's my advice. He'd been doing webcomics for a few years. And the most important thing he told me was, don't miss an update for the first 3 months of your comic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many webcomics that start and vanish. People are waiting for you to vanish. Mm-hmm. If you're around for 3 months, they'll take it a little more seriously.
I was always told no one will trust you until you have at least 100 pages in your archive.
Yeah, that's
100 pages in your first year. Those are the biggest milestones.
My first year, I missed 2 updates. And both those updates, I had 103 temperature, so I really didn't give a shit. And it wasn't the comics and drawings. I couldn't get out of my bed physically to go over and into the future. I was like, I'll just die. Screw 'em. And so once you get that done, your reach will trust you. I also recommend, and this is very important, it wasn't big when I was starting out, but now, an RSS feed is a godsend. Because people who don't, there are a lot of people who that's how they know when sites update.
That is at least half of my readers on the RSS.
RSS, I've also been updating through a Facebook page now as well, and even a Tumblr. The Tumblr no one seems to care about. The Facebook page actually has got me new readers because people like the strip.
The Facebook page died.
I was surprised. It's not like it's not the bulk of my readership by any stretch of imagination, but it reaches people who wouldn't read my comic otherwise, and I've gotten new readers and some sales out of it too. So it's been kind of nice.
Oh, we're talking about
the artistic side.
Artistic.
Oh, yeah, we went to business, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
So it was artistic versus update. I mean, so it's really if you want to do basically everyone is a masterpiece, but you're going to update maybe once a week. Not necessarily a good thing, I'll be honest. You want to have it decent, clear, with the characters be defined, but update, I would say honestly, at least 3 times a week.
Well,
And
it depends on the type. If they're
Yep.
doing a strip.
Hold on, let me
versus a
argue that one.
page.
That's
This is I'm the other side of this. I have one masterpiece a week, so.
Yes, but you've been doing it a long time.
Yeah,
right?
it's also a page.
Well, hold up. It also depends what you want to get out of it. Because the comic that I'm doing, the story that we're telling, won't work with
Stick figures.
won't work with strips.
Yeah.
And enough of what's going on is dependent on visual detail and setting. I have to slow down.
Yeah.
Now, if I was telling a story that was more that had different requirements, I could use a different art style.
Well, and we do for the stories. We have bits in there where people are telling stories.
There's one part where I get to finger paint, and that's pretty fun. Lost my phone. So it partly depends on what is the story. Because the story will make different artistic demands on you depending on what you're trying to do. The other thing is why you're drawing this comic to begin with.
Right.
I have no desire to make this my profession. I have a freaking master's degree in counseling, and comics is not going to pay as well as that. I'm staying with the counseling.
Good choice.
And you can also draw your own little funny quips comics and put them on your wall in your office.
No.
No.
We
Because many of clients recognizing themselves in those comics is really
There's a
awkward.
reason I'm on the internet under a pseudonym. They don't need to know that I have anything to do with any of that. But I got in it because I happen to like, lush backgrounds and these detailed anatomy studies. And yeah, Stupid Planet Earth documentary series is the reason we nuked out our archive, because I'm like, nature is so pretty, nature's beautiful, I have to redraw everything.
That was after Planet Earth came out, wasn't it?
It was. We saw that actually on our honeymoon, and we're like, I'm gonna nuke the archive and draw everything more beautiful. I'm what Scott McCloud calls a classicist. Hardcore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you're a classicist, you're gonna be slow.
because classicist is about making it look aesthetically. Yeah.
Yeah.